Hey, hi. In this video, I'm going to show you how to send emails using Azure Python SDKs for Azure Communication Service. As you see in this PPT depicts the demo here. I'm going to create a Python code which will have Python SDKs being used. With using that, what we do is we're going to invoke the endpoint of Azure Communication Service, especially for emails. And then with using that, we can see that email could be sent to an endpoint email address, or you have a destination email address, you can send an email to that particular email address with using this Python code. And since this is a Python code, you can make it for an automation purpose. Say like you can run it on Azure Function Apps as a scheduled, or you can use it in your applications whenever there is a need of sending a notification in the form of email. You can use this script. Okay, right? So that's the main aim behind this script basically, right? So now in this part, I'm going to walk you through the first how to set up the Azure Communication Service, then how to consume the endpoint of this Azure Communication Service in the script, and then we're going to walk you through that piece of code, and finally show you that we could send an email to with using this script basically. All right, so with that, what I do is I'm going to take you to the Azure subscription. So this is my Azure subscriptions. First of all, let's go to the communication service. Okay, go to the main search, click on communication service. It will take you to the Azure Communication Service option, which was I was already there. Then to create an instance of communication service, okay, so you can click on create button. So if you click on a create button, it will take you to the space where you will need to put the input to create Azure Communication Service. Select your subscriptions like this, then select the RG. So in my case, I have already created an RG, but in your case, if it is not there, you can create it like this. And here you need to give a unique name, say like demo cloudquicklabs, which is my channel name, and then blah blah, right? So give this unique name, and then if you want to add some tags, you can add it. And finally click on review and create, review plus create. And after certain like a few seconds, this button becomes activated, that is click on a create. So once you click on a create, basically it will deploy a communication service instance for you. Like I have already created this communication service instance, right? So Azure Communication Service instance is like a container. You can call it as it's just like it's a basically a PAAS service, that is platform as a service, which provides you a capability of sending the notification through email channel, through a voicemail. You can also send SMS notification. You can also send do a voice call. So there are like a plenty of communications options are available underneath this. Okay, so basically communication service instance is a container. In that one you can opt in multiple features like email, SMS, voice, blah blah and all, right? So okay, so with that we have created a communication service. So if you go to the overview, you see that there is an endpoint available. So this is an HTTPS endpoint or URI, which you will be using in the code to send the notification basically, right? So that's all about here. You can again explore the channel capabilities, channels capabilities, and quick starts as well. So I'm going to leave the other options, and I'm going to help you with the important option, that is in the settings. If you go to the settings, there is an option called keys, right? So in the keys, so here you will have two very important information. One is endpoint, which I have already shown you in the overview page, which is same as here. And then it will also generate a key basically, that is you can authenticate to this the communication service instance with using this key, right? So you can generate a two types of key, primary and secondary key. Plus it also have another option, that is connection string. You can also use a connection strings and try to communicate to this service in your application. Say for example, you are building the Java application or Python application, you can, and you need a connection strings to do the notification. So in that case you can use it, or you can still rely on a keys to authenticate this communication service and then send the notifications, right? So that's all about this one, right? So basically this is the options. And if you go to the below, there are like services. I said with using communication service you can do multiple things. I said SMS, telephony, blah blah, right? So those are all the options are available here. For now in this video we are focusing on email. So click on email options, and there is a try email, right? So whenever you click on this try emails, there is an ready-made UI option will be available, where you can try out sending a notifications from the UI, right? So here you are not using any code, but being from this UI you can try to send basically dummy message or try to test the the communication basically. And that option also this communication service provides. And this whatever the input that you provide could be converted into the these other programming languages, say like C sharp, JavaScript, Python. So here I'm interested in Python, in the sense how do we write a Python script that is could be used for an automation purpose or could be used in application to send the email notifications, right? So here one more thing is, creating the communication service is not enough. To send an email notification you need to have a domain, right? That is the email domain has to be there, right? Or for example, say like you have a gmail.com or something like that. So they here we need to have a domain, right? So that's the reason I have created a Azure email domain, right? That is Azure communication service domain has been created. That is, you see, azurecom.net. Basically this is the domain which I created. Okay, so how did I create is, so once you come to this option and click, once you come to this particular page, that is try email, here you will have another button called create domain name. You need to click on that create domain name and point it to this communication service. In the sense, you need to map a communication service with the email, with the communication service for email domain has to be mapped. Okay, then only it will work. And then you need to give a recipient email, in the sense, a proper working recipient email has to be given here. And then in the subject line you can provide a subject line, say like demo presentation, right? So demo presentation subject, I will just give like this, yeah. And then we're gonna give a message like an hello world, right? So and then give like a, are you there, right? This is test. I'm just sending a multi-line yeah, multi-line body basically, right? So now with this option, as I said, with this option you are ready, in the sense until you have the domain here, you cannot send the email. Okay, that is a very important point. Just for a demo purpose, what we do is, I know that we need to show the important part of this demo is to show the notification, how to send a notification with using Python. But before that you need to understand how does the communication service works to send the notification, right? So once you provide all these inputs, so you can click on a button send, which actually sends this email to this particular recipient email address. You see the email is queued successfully. First it will get queued and then it will be sent successfully. You see email has been sent successfully. I have opened my email address in the another tab. You see that the demo presentation subject line, hello there, these subject body is coming as expected. Yeah. Okay, so the basically in the sense that we have successfully tested this communication service instance from the Azure UI. Now let's try in a Python. Okay, that is the main aim. Okay, so you can convert this the sending option into an automation with using in the form of a Python code. So that Python code is is ready-made available for you. With a little bit of tweaking you can use this. Okay, basically our script is looks same thing, but I'm going to walk you through this in a while, right? Okay, so that's the about. And one more thing which I need to show you here is the domain, right? So you see that I said we need to have an email communication service, all right? And that email communication service need to have a domain. So okay, this is the domain name which we created here. When we're gonna use this domain name in the code as well, remember that. All right. Okay, so now let me take you back to the the major part of the demo, that is how to send, how to invoke that communication service endpoint in the Python, and which will help us to automate as well, right? So here we use Microsoft Azure given Python SDKs to interact with the communication service, and eventually here the aim is to send an email notification, right? So that is what it has been written in this particular script. I'm going to share this script in the GitHub repository, and the GitHub repository's link is been shared in this video, so we can find it from there and try to use it from your side. It is a ready-made option. Okay, so in this one we are using two modules or two Python SDK modules. One is Azure Communication Email, and we are using core credentials. Okay, so in that one we are using email client and Azure key credentials. So before you use this module, you need to have your system installed with those modules. And in the case of automations, you need to make sure that your automation environment is installed with these Python modules. So how did I install in my system is something like this. That is like a pip install, for example, say Azure core, which is nothing but the core credentials module. Okay, and then I have also installed that is Azure Communication Email. That is Azure Communication Email Python module is been installed. Okay, so for example, say if you want to do this automation with using Python Python function apps or say AWS Lambda functions, you can do this. You can keep these in the form of a requirement.txt file, or you can keep in the form of a Lambda layers. All right. Okay, so with that, you have set the environment, and you can ready-made actually write these two lines, that is importing the email client and importing the Azure key credentials. After that, since I said we are using Azure key based credentials, so you need to use, we're going to use this module called Azure key credentials, and within here we need to use that the key that we have generated from the Azure Communication Service. So if I go to the Azure Communication Service, go to the keys, and try to generate the primary key, and then then copy the key here. I'm going to copy this key again and try to put it here. So basically that's what I did. So here like this, and then we're going to use the endpoint. So endpoint is nothing but the URL, right? So whatever URL here, you just copy as it is and put it across in this variable, that is our endpoint variable. All right, so I just put this variable here, which is same basically, yeah. And then the client, so basically we are actually setting the email client, okay, the email client for communication service. So that that is from the from the basically a class called email client, and that will take two inputs, that is basically you are creating an object of email client, right? So and how that class is class is getting instantiated is by taking the two parameters, one is credentials and plus other one is the endpoint. So this is our endpoint and this is our credentials are being passed, and this is the, now your client is ready. Now with that, we need to define the message body, in the sense in the UI it was very easy. If I go to the UI again and go to the email options, try email options, it is very easy, right? So you just have to put it in place, and it will automatically convert from the backend in the form of a message body, and it used to send it. Now in the code we need to do something similar. So here we need to build a dictionary. So message is nothing but a dictionary. So dictionary has a certain key values, so which is I'm going to walk you through now. First one is content, in the sense the content, in the sense basically an email has content, right? Which will have a subject line, which will have a plain text, and then the HTML. Okay, so that is that these are the three the key values of this particular content key, right? Basically this is a key, again it has a value in the form of a dictionary, and here the dictionary has a key value pay, that is subject. So this is something that you can keep it as a in a subject line. This is, I will call it as, this is Python code based Python SDK, select Python SDK code based email, right? So let me just type like this. So now this is our subject line in the plain text. So plain text is nothing but, as I said, this is like something which will come in the body. So let's call this, this is a, this is message, this is message from the body. I'm just typing some dummy messages, okay, and then I will say blah blah, I will just say something like this, yeah, blah blah. Okay, so this is a plain text, so make sure that this is the same plain text, you're going to keep it in the form of HTML, in the sense whatever the plain text that you want to send in the email, that has to be converted in the form of HTML, right? That is very important. This is a bit tricky, but you need to understand what is this actually means. Okay, so if you miss here, maybe you will not get the content as expected. Okay, so here basically you need to create an HTML page, which is nothing but how your email look like. All right, you can, so basically when you have this kind of opportunity to create a HTML page, you can do a very nice view as well, like you can add a table, you can add blah blah thing, you can add a nice images as well. So everything is possible here. All right, so then we go to the recipient. So recipient is another part of the message dictionary, or very it's basically another key of the message dictionary. So in that one, basically as the name says, recipient, so this is the place where you actually configure the email address. So here in my case I'm using my single email address, but since the two is a list, in the sense you can have multiple email address being kept after like this. Okay, so for example, so here you need to give an email address. So this is the email address, this is a display name, so this is my display name, or you can call it as a Cloud Quick Labs is my display name. So I will just call it like say like Cloud Quick Labs, Cloud Quick Labs, right? Okay, so this is what this is what basically you can put it here, and then go to the sender. So sender is, why it is sender is important. That's the reason I was focusing very rigorously on while explaining the UI level, right? So here in the domain name we have the domain. So this is something, the Azure also gives you a free domain which you can use it for your automation purpose, or your enterprise has the ready-made email domain, you can use it basically, yeah. And to use it, you need to register that domain here, right? So all right, so I'm using the Azure or Microsoft Azure given domain name, something like this. I copied this domain name here and put it in the key called sender address. Okay, that sender address is being kept here. Okay, so if you are giving other than this the domain address, it will fail basically. Yeah, so I will just say do not reply domain name, or for example say what I can say, for example say okay, so for now I'm gonna keep it as it is, in the sense I will say no, do not reply domain name. All right, so or do like say for example say just say do not reply at the rate email address. Okay, so we're gonna check, we're gonna try both the options. So for now let's keep this as it is, and then finally we need to do a measure API invocation, that is begin send. In the sense, in the send we're going to use the client, which is nothing but the client which we created above, and then we have a message which I explained right now, right? And then with using the email client, we are invoking this API called begin send, and that will have a poller. In the sense, a variable called poller will be captured, and the result will be result will be shown here. So we can also print this result something like this, print result. Yeah, let me do a tab basically, and then let me save this. Okay, so with this option, we are ready to fire this email. In the sense, we are ready to run this script. Okay, so let me run this script basically. So when I run this script, is nothing but I'm just invoking the automations. In the sense, whatever the code we have written in this piece of automation script, that is being invoked here. You see that it is taking some time to send the email, right? Once it actually prints the result, which means that email should be available in our inbox. Okay, so this piece of code, which is experimented tested from local system, we can reuse it in the any other automation system, say like function app, as I said, function app, or you can use it like the cloud run from the GCP. You can use AWS Lambda. So blah blah thing, you can use it. Okay, so while it is running, let's go to my inbox and try to see. Here you go, right? So we have sorry, this is not the email address I was expecting. So we should see another email coming here in a while. So it is still running, so let's wait for a minute now. So basically, since it is invoking from the source, remember that I'm not invoking from the Azure. No, I'm invoking from the internet. So whatever whichever thing that you do from the internet, in the sense from your laptop, which is actually internet only. Okay, so for example, say right now it looks to be in a running mode. Okay, here you go, right? So whatever the email which I have designed, right, that is this is the Python SDK code based email. And if you see the the do not reply, right? So everything is coming here, and then the message, but this is a message body, blah blah, right? So I written, and basically that is what it is coming. And you see that since it has a polar, in the sense it will take some time. And we are also printing the result, that is something like this, that is status equal to succeed, error equal to none, and the ID is something like this. In the sense, every invocation of begin send will have an invocation ID, and that is what it is written. Okay, and one more thing which we want to experiment, right? So for example, say I will just add dummy, I will just say dummy email address. Okay, say let me call it as a dummy. Okay, so this is the final dummy email address. So dummy email address, something like this. I'm gonna just control so I'm just gonna add something like dummy here. Let's save this. Okay, so yeah, then finally what I'm going to show you here is, if we are adding non-registered sender address, will this API work? Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm just invoking this one. Here you go, right? So you see that the denied by the response provider. Why it is denied? Because the sender address is not registered. Okay, so why the Azure has done like this, to avoid the maybe spamming, something like that. Okay, so I'll just go back to the previous address, right? And then for example, say if I just give this option as well, yeah, so something like this. Yeah, you need to add that do not reply as well, then only it will work, I believe. So basically here you go, right? So it is again throwing the error, right? So you must add this format. If you go to your domain name in the communication service, the domain name stands with this one. So that domain name has to be prefixed with the do not reply at the rate, like that. Okay, and then only it will work. So if I click now, it should be working now, right? All right, now it has started to work. All right, so with that note, basically I'm not going to wait you till that. So basically this is what I'm going to show you, that how we can send an email with using Azure Python SDKs for Azure Communication Service, right? All right. So with that note, I have shown you, what the everything need to be shown in this video. Finally, I can request please to subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. With that note, thank you. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.